name is Penny Meckley Porter, and I am the owner of Thrive Therapy Space here in Erie, PA. I'd like to say thank you to the Jefferson Educational Society for hosting me today. Let me check something. I'm going to keep going. I don't know. There's something on my screen, but I'm going to keep going. So, thank you for being here today. And as you know, hopefully you know, we are doing a 9-week series on automatic negative thoughts. So, automatic negative thoughts, we introduced this idea a while back on October 23rd, and we've been going through each, I don't know, category of automatic negative thoughts. You can look it up online. Another word for it is cognitive distortions, and if you do look it up, you can look up 9 cognitive distortions or 14 cognitive distortions. People categorize them differently, but today we're going to be talking about emotional reasoning. And emotional reasoning, it's valuable to talk about. Forgive me, shoot, there's something on my screen. I don't know if I can even paste in. Well, I'm live. I can't paste in. So normally I try to paste in the link to the first automatic negative thoughts session, and I won't do that today, but I will do it again next week. So, talking about emotional reasoning, but before we get started, the last few weeks, first we talked about all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, and discounting the positives. So today we'll talk about emotional reasoning, but I do want you to recognize that it's a universal thing. Other people struggle with emotional reasoning. And that as you think about this in your life, bring a gentle curiosity to your own experience and the possibility that you too may be doing some emotional reasoning. So what do we mean by emotional reasoning? Basically, in this cognitive distortion, a person values too highly their emotions and what their emotions are telling them. That is not to say that our emotions don't have value, because our emotions definitely have value. And somebody who's not connected to their emotions at all, that's not even a good thing. It's good to be connected to our emotions. But essentially, with emotional reasoning, we really listen to our emotions and what they're telling us, especially when our emotions are big. And when our emotions are really big, we shouldn't actually listen to them as much as we think. So, for example, if you're feeling overwhelmed by something, then the feeling might prove in your mind that you can't manage what you're going through, right? So feeling overwhelmed proves that you can't manage a situation, you can't handle a situation. And the reason this is important is because then guess what? It's going to impact how you act. It's going to impact your behaviors. If you think you can't do something, you're much more likely to procrastinate, not get started, feel overwhelmed. It could contribute to depression for sure. Other examples. You feel guilty about something, so you conclude that you must be guilty. And so, I don't know, there are times probably where you should feel guilty. There are times where I should feel guilty because I committed to doing something and then I spaced it and somehow I didn't end up doing that thing. So I would argue I should feel guilty in that situation. But there's lots of free-floating guilt. And so just because I feel guilty doesn't mean I did something wrong. Sometimes people feel jealous in a relationship and their partner has been actually quite devoted. And so then that jealousy, it's kind of coming up for them, and it can come up really strongly. Might be more likely to come up strongly if they've had other people in their life who haven't been devoted to them. But just because I feel jealous doesn't mean it's true. I mean, it might be true, but it doesn't mean conclusively that it's true. What if I feel kind of bad about myself or worthless? I could have a very strong emotion of feeling bad or worthless, and it probably gets like jacked up when something's happened, maybe when I feel embarrassed, something hasn't gone well, then I really feel bad and I really feel worthless. Well, just because something hasn't gone well doesn't mean I'm bad, and it doesn't mean I'm worthless. Um, Sometimes I feel stupid. I started this business called Thrive Therapy Space, whatever, a year ago. I cannot tell you how stupid I felt routinely trying to explain what the business idea was, trying to look at the numbers. I seem to have a block about that. I felt stupid so often. And you could see if I wasn't trying to be aware of how it might impact me, and I was using my mindfulness skills, I really did tell myself that just because I feel dumb doesn't mean that I am dumb. And just because I feel dumb doesn't mean I can't keep marching forward and keep figuring things out. So I was using my own mindfulness skills. Maybe if I feel lonely, I conclude that nobody cares about me, that I'm unlovable. And so I have my little example sheet here. When I do therapy with people, I call this the equal sign. Obviously, you know what an equal sign is. And what I mean is when one thing happens, we very easily conclude something else that often is not true. And so when I was with Thrive trying to explain an idea, so here we go. Here's the thing over here. I was trying to, whoops, wrong side. Explain an idea. I was trying to explain an idea, and I felt very dumb, right? And embarrassed. And then in my mind was pretty tempted to tell me I shouldn't be opening a business, and you are dumb, and you'll never get this. Well, no, just because I feel dumb doesn't mean I am dumb. So you might notice this kind of thing in your own life. Just be open to this possibility that you do something similar in your own life. The next question is, how do we stop emotional reasoning? Just like all the other cognitive distortions we've discussed, it's a matter of noticing it with a gentle curiosity, not shaming ourselves, not being mean to ourselves, just noticing with a gentle curiosity, being aware of it, trying to look for some evidence, or recognizing that there probably isn't as much evidence as you fear there is, and then practicing. That's the biggest part of this, practicing gently. So we'll kind of do it step by step. I'd say first thing is to notice when you have big emotions, right? When they're big, it's less likely that we should be trusting our emotions when our emotions are really big, right? Even we've been talking about difficult emotions. Let's talk about hope. Hope is a good thing, but I can be so hopeful about something that I can kind of convince myself that it's true, or I can kind of convince myself I don't have to work for it. So even good emotions, when they get way big, like falling in love early on and falling in love, it can make me, well, whatever. I've been married for a long time, but the early part of falling in love can really be an infatuation, and it's so big and it's so powerful. It's not necessarily good to trust it when it's that big and that powerful. We kind of have to give it some more time, if you see what I'm saying. So be curious when you have big emotions. Gently identify and acknowledge the feeling. So label your emotion or emotions. It's probably mixed in there with other things. We'll have you notice where you feel it in your body, and we'll do a meditation on this in a minute. We'll have you notice where you feel the emotion or emotions in your body. It could be in your body here. It could be in your body up here. Over time, hopefully you'll get better at noticing your conclusions, that you've been drawing conclusions. So maybe you are angry at somebody, and then your conclusion is they did it on purpose. I don't know. Maybe they did it on purpose, maybe they didn't, right? We make these mental leaps, actually a lot. You might notice people in your life making those mental leaps too. So notice your conclusions. Consider the facts. Again, recognize that people don't make their best decisions when emotions are high and strong. And then keep practicing. So, let's go ahead and do a mindfulness exercise. So I invite you to sit comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor if that's comfortable. Being comfortable is more important than doing it exactly the way I describe. Sitting comfortably in your chair, somewhat alert but relaxed. Closing your eyes. And then noticing your breath. Bring your awareness to your breath. You'll be noticing the inhalation and the exhalation. Perhaps noticing it there in your chest cavity, the expansion and the contraction with the breath. Perhaps you'll be noticing it right there at your nose, feeling the air or hearing the air as you inhale and exhale. So right now you're just noticing your breath. You're not changing it at all. You're just noticing your breath. We'll do a couple of breaths, a certain kind that I like to do. It's the double exhale. So I'll just describe this first. We'll have you count your in-breath at whatever pace you count it, right? Just like 1, 2, 3, or whatever. You just count your in-breath, and then when you exhale, you double your count and try to exhale twice as long. And we'll do that for 2 breaths. So on your next inhale, count. And your next exhale, you count for double the time. Again, when you inhale, you count. And when you exhale, you double the count. Good. Good job. Now I'd like you to bring your awareness to a time recently when your emotions were really high. Well, how about this? How about medium high? It's kind of easier to practice with this when your emotions are medium high. It's a little more difficult when your emotions are super high. So bring your awareness to a time recently where your emotions were fairly high. And if you can, bring yourself back there. So you're feeling it in your body. So allow yourself to feel it. And then bring your awareness to the place or places in your body where you feel that emotion. Again, you're bringing a gentle curiosity to your body and the places or place where you feel that emotion. And notice how it feels. Whether it feels big, it takes up a big space, or a small space. Whether it feels hard or heavy or vibrating. You're just noticing how that emotion feels in you. And keep breathing. As you're exploring this emotion, I want you to keep breathing. Not to get the emotion to go away, but just so you're breathing as you're exploring. Notice how strong the emotion is in your body. We're noticing how big it is, the space where it is, how strong it feels, what it feels like. We're just bringing our gentle curiosity. Now that you've brought your awareness to this part of your body, check in and see if the initial label you had for the emotion, see if that still fits. So you have a label for your emotion that you started with. See if you can match that label against the emotion that you're feeling. It might feel right on exactly 100%, but you might notice that, oh, the feeling's a little bit different. I mean, the label I'm going to use is a little bit different now that I've sunken into this emotion. Maybe it's easy to find a different label. Maybe it's not. That's okay. But I'd also like you to ask yourself, what else is there? If you started with anger, see what else is there, if there's other emotions. If you started with guilt, see what else is there. Maybe there's a sense of responsibility, a sense of disappointing people, a sense of fear of disappointing people. You're just kind of exploring what else is there. And whatever you notice, you acknowledge it. Oh, there's guilt. Oh, that deep sense of responsibility. Oh, a sense that I failed people. Ooh, that's fear that I failed people. You're acknowledging with gentleness. If you find yourself slipping into shame or blame or questioning even, well, why do I feel that way? I shouldn't feel that way. It's dumb to feel that way. All that's shaming and blaming. And the questioning pulls us back into our mind and makes us spin in our mind. And that's not necessarily valuable. So you just keep coming back to the emotion, gentle curiosity, acknowledge what is there. And then now I'd like you to come back to your breath. Noticing your inhale, noticing your exhale. Noticing your feet on the floor, grounding yourself. How about checking in one more time with this place where you were feeling this emotion, were or are feeling this emotion? Because you can go into that place and then you can come out by anchoring your awareness in your breath and by anchoring your awareness in your feet. Taking a moment to go back to that emotion and that place. And then again, coming back to your breath. Take an extra big deep breath. An extra big deep exhale. Then feeling your feet on the floor, your bottom on your chair. And then beginning to listen to the room around you. And then opening your eyes. Good job. Thank you for joining me in that meditation. So you probably noticed some things about the initial emotion, about how it felt in your body, how it felt when you acknowledged it. It often shifts when we acknowledge our emotions and just honor them. It often shifts. You may have noticed other emotions that were in there also. You might have noticed that you have a tendency to want to figure out why, which in life can be a good quality, but we can really overuse it. So maybe you noticed you kept wanting to get caught up in why. And then hopefully you were able to bring yourself back to the emotions and acknowledge them. Now that we've opened our eyes, you might be more aware of where you do the equal sign. When your emotions are big, over here, you might come to certain conclusions. For homework this week, should you choose to want to explore this further, I would suggest every day you notice your emotions. And so perhaps you feel busy during the day. Well, people are different. Some people, their emotions are kind of on the down low and they don't really tune into them very much. And so for the people whose emotions are on the down low and you haven't been tuning in very much, you can practice by maybe a couple of times a day, or when you get into bed at night, you just kind of go back through your day and try to bring into your awareness what emotions you were feeling as you went through the day. As I said, if you're someone who's kept your emotions on the down low, it'll take a while of practicing to get more in tune with your emotions. And if you're someone whose emotions have been really big, kind of in your face, in your body, super big, then for you, you may want to be noticing your emotions and recognizing that they can come through your life as waves, like as waves of an ocean. They come, they get big, they go. If they're super big, they might feel like a tsunami, but then they crest and start to dissipate. You can work with yourself and your emotions this week. And when you do take time to do a meditation like this and explore what's going on, you can be noticing the different layers to your emotions. By layers, I mean the emotion I identified at the beginning of my meditation. I might notice other emotions too. Those can be layers. Or the emotion I had at the beginning, I might notice that it's familiar from other times in my life. Another layer is, so here's the beginning emotion. Another layer is really noticing what your equal signs are, noticing what your conclusions are, noticing how the emotion might fuel thought after thought after thought, like kind of in a spiral, maybe even a downward spiral, right? So all of that is what I mean when I say you can be noticing the layers of what's going on for you when you are experiencing your emotions, either in the moment or later. Thanks again for joining me, and next week we will be talking about should statements and guilt. So please join me next week at noon at the Jefferson Educational Society live Facebook feed.